Today I effed up hooking up with an ex-classmate from high school.
Casual has never been my thing, but just recently, on my birthday I decided I could let loose a little.
I decided to have with a random person for the first time.
My longest relationship, which covered most of my 20s, came to an end months ago and I've been single and celibate ever since.
I guess older but not less me wanted to see if hookup culture was worth the hype, so I created an account on Tinder.
Lo and behold, I managed to get a match with a girl, who was surprisingly not a complete stranger.
I had no idea who she was until she mentioned my high school and how we used to be in the same class. Cue flashbacks. I remembered who she was,
but I did not remember her being as attractive as she was now.
She invited me to her apartment.
Her bio stated that she was too busy for boyfriends and she only wanted which she made clear in her messages to me. But because we knew each other or whatever she said, she was interested in catching up and hooking up. I did not expect us to hook up and catch up at the same time though, but she made it a thing.
Nothing I did during stopped her from talking about high school. While I was trying to make us both finish,
she was telling me about the boy in our class who planted anonymous love letters for her to find on Valentine's Day. Each love letter was signed with a different letter of the boy's name so that all the love letters combined would eventually reveal the identity of the boy. However, the boy's true identity was never really confirmed because as soon as the first two love letters were found, madness ensued as the whole class involved themselves and quickly ganged up on the boy who they believed was the culprit, because some of the letters in his name happened to match the letters used to sign the two love letters that were found. It made no sense to me why that boy became the prime suspect, when a few other boys in class also had those letters in their names, myself included. All I could think of was that the class picked on the easiest target because the boy they were convinced wrote those letters was one of the boys who got bullied the most. The boy denied that he wrote the letters and I believed him. He was getting harassed whether it was him or not, so why lie and make the target on your back even bigger? It was never proven that it was him, and no more love letters were found again, even though there obviously had to have been more. So whoever wrote the first two love letters must have gotten cold feet and pulled the plug when he witnessed the chaos in class. If you're still reading, then you might have forgotten that I was actually having while this story was being told. Now imagine how I was feeling. The girl who was telling me the story, aka the person with my dick inside of her, went into great detail explaining what happened all those years ago on Valentine's Day, because she wanted me to know that she knew the identity of the boy who wrote the love letters.
We were in the cowgirl position by the time she finally got to the I know who it was part of the story. She paused her movement mid-cowgirl and said she always knew the boy was me. I laughed and said love letters were never my thing, before adding that I had a girlfriend back then.
She mentioned my high school girlfriend by her name without any help from me, which was impressive and somewhat scary, especially when she specifically mentioned the month my girlfriend and I started dating, and how that was months after the Valentine's Day events, meaning that I was single when the letters were written according to her timeline.
I guess you can sense it, but at this point, this was getting creepy.
I was beginning to lose my erection inside of her, because talking about my ex-girlfriend from high school during with my ex-classmate was not what I was expecting, or enjoying for that matter. For the record, my ex-girlfriend from high school and my recent ex-girlfriend are the same person.
Yes, we were together for that long.
I decided not to share that information with my ex-classmate because she was telling me how she always wanted to be friends with my ex in high school, but my ex thought she was too hot to hang out with Beaver.
I remembered kids calling her Beaver because she had two big front teeth and there was a toothpaste commercial on at the time with a character called Mr. Beaver.
My ex-classmate blamed my ex-girlfriend for giving her that name, and basically made my ex sound like a mean girl, which was not a side of my ex that I ever saw in all the years I've known her. I apologized to my ex-classmate on my ex's behalf, if that was her experience. I explained that I had been seeing my ex long before the Valentine's Day stuff happened, but my ex and I chose to keep our relationship low-key until we were comfortable enough to show people that we were a couple. My ex-classmate hopped off my flaccid dick to fetch a notepad and pen and then asked me to write something.
When I asked her what she wanted me to write, she said I effed Beaver. I followed her instruction and wrote down exactly what she said.
She grabbed the notepad when I was done writing and said she was going to compare my handwriting to the two love letters she apparently had in her possession since high school. She left the bedroom all excited and shit, like she finally had the clue that would crack the case. I struggled to understand why she waited all this time to check out my handwriting when she could have just, I don't know, looked at any of my notebooks in school. As soon as she was gone, I said F this and got dressed as quickly and as quietly as possible. She was too busy looking for the love letters in the other room to notice me slipping out through the front door and literally running away. I sent her a message when I made it to my car, apologizing for leaving without warning. I made sure to thank her for an interesting evening and said casual was not for me. The end. Then I blocked her and deleted Tinder. F that shit. Never again. Update. I called my ex-girlfriend to inform her about what happened with my ex-classmate, better known at this point as Beaver. We will call her BB for now, just in case Reddit was right about BB potentially planning to send my ex-girlfriend a photo or something of the notepad I used to write the words I effed Beaver. My ex-girlfriend said she was expecting to hear from me, not because BB made contact, which she did not, at least not yet, but because my ex-girlfriend discovered a Reddit post that she was 99% sure was mine.
I confirmed that the post did indeed belong to me. She said I had her boyfriend to thank for laughing out loud at something on his phone while she was trying to have a conversation with him.
When she asked him what was so funny, he read my BB post to her without realizing that he was reading a story by the guy who used to date his girlfriend.
I awkwardly asked my ex what her thoughts were about my post.
She denied coming up with the name Beaver and said she never thought of herself as being too hot to be friends with anyone, especially not in high school when she was just as insecure as everyone else back then. She said if she was gonna come up with an offensive name for BB, it would have been blind because BB was unable to see that the person who actually wrote the love letters on Valentine's Day was not a boy at all.
It was apparently one of BB's friends, a girl who was on the netball team with my ex-girlfriend.
When my ex-girlfriend mentioned the name of the girl, I pointed out that her name had none of the letters that were used to sign the 2 love letters that were found. My ex-girlfriend said the netball girl's nickname was more popular than her actual name, especially among all of her friends, which obviously included BB, hence the letters of her nickname matching the different letters used to sign each of the 2 love letters that BB never threw away.
My brain was beginning to hurt.
I asked my ex-girlfriend how the F did she know this information, and I did not. She said the netball team had a girl code.
Whatever someone shared in the locker room, never left in the locker room, or something like that. I made my ex aware that she just broke the girl code by sharing that shit with me.
I was joking. My ex joked back and said if BB ends up contacting her, then she would gladly give her my home address as a peace offering. Needless to say, I was no longer laughing.